We'll move on to one of the most talked about teams, one of the teams which has the most fan following, and the team with the greatest batsman, arguably of all times. But still, they can't win a match, or rather, I should say, can't win a tournament. So,
Tournament.
yeah. So, will the king be crowned this time around? So that's the question. So we'll start with the Mumbai fan, Mayank, who is already in blue tonight.
I don't think so. I don't think so. So they have added Glenn Maxwell, sorry, Glenn
Yeah.
Maxwell to their arsenal,
So
but
what else
he
do you
has
want?
other than
Virat Kohli, AB de Villiers, Glenn Maxwell.
And Maxwell.
I mean, this is
and that is
nightmare for
how
any.
Kohli has always been, right? Get those superheroes to bat, and then they do never have enough bowlers to bail out, right? They went ahead with Gale. Now instead of Gale, they have Maxi, but again, Gale has been probably 10 times more consistent than Maxi in the subcontinent. So I don't know how much will Maxwell do. He is always that guy with X factor who would come at $1 million price and then not perform and disappoint you. So yeah, that is how it has been, and I'm
Yeah,
sure he has been all around teams, right? Maybe 4 or 5 franchisees by now.
yeah.
Even though the person with such a big X factor would expect them to stay with a single franchisee throughout, someone like Pollard, but that has never been the case with Maxi. So I mean, I have liked him always as a T20 batsman. I hope he does well, which would be good for Bangalore also. Uh, gives Went out some frustration for Kohli, but I don't think they're making probably 5 or 6. I don't see them in top 4.
But Shashank bhai, if you look at it this way, with Padikkal now looking like a good opener, and of course Kohli, AB, and now Glenn Maxwell, so there is no
Maxwell.
issue with the batting. They will score a lot of.
Padikkal is not available. Padikkal is not
First match,
available for
Patikal is not
Thursday.
available. I
First
think
match. Okay,
Azharuddin
yeah,
might pay. Yeah, only first match.
yeah, yeah.
Uh,
So batting is
so
not really an issue with
no, no, no.
RCB.
Never has never been an issue. Yeah.
But now with Siraj and Saini getting some good international exposure, and
Exposure.
Siraj being one of the heroes of the Australian series, so do you
Right.
think that will help RCB's bowling?
Somehow, Chehel has always been there. I think last 2 3 years
Yes.
he's played there. Siraj was also last year. I think he was also there in RCB. They have some. They've also got. They've had some foreign bowlers who are death bowling specialists. They've
Yeah.
brought in everything actually. If you
Yeah.
look at the teams, I think I'm forgetting his name. The bald guy, little
Mills,
bulky. Yeah,
Tile
that
Mills or
Mills,
something. Yeah.
Kyle
Kyle
Jameson.
Mills, Kyle Mills, and one more guy who recently we played against. So he was also a death bowling specialist, a bald guy, little bulky. So they've tried to bring in everything, but somehow the mix has never worked. That is the major issue. Betting has always been their forte, their strength. They score 200 runs, but they are either unable to defend it 90% of the times. That's the major issue. Now this time, good thing which has happened is they've got in Jamieson. Now Jamieson is a young bowler. He's done really well in the recent past, but he
Mm.
doesn't have much of India experience. Number one. Number two is he's very young, so I don't know how will he survive the pressure at when you play crunch matches. Will he deliver? That's the question. But Chehel, Siraj, these are going to be the reliable bowlers. Saini, I'm still very doubtful because although he's got some experience, but when it comes to pitches like Chennai, I don't know how much successful he will be because he's not that a swing bowler. He's a bowler who will just run and
Hit
throw the
the deck.
ball
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
pitch it up.
Yeah,
So
hit the
maybe
deck out.
Siraj is a swing bowler, but Saini, I'm not very confident in terms of his swing bowling or death bowling. So that way, you're again left with Jamieson doing the job. Sundar, although he's had a fabulous series in
Yeah.
Australia, but this guy again, he's good with power play bowling also. So he's a good add-on. Now there are two weaklings here. Now after top four, if you see, the fifth batsman is going to be a domestic Indian batsman. We don't know who. So it could be some Rajat Patidar who's played good, won Vijay Hazare Trophy,
Mm.
or some Deshpande who might come in. That is number five. And number six is going to be Dan Christian. Dan Christian recently has
Right.
had good T20 series, but Dan Christian, I think, few years back again, he was part of RCB.
Yes.
Never performed, I think. He was
Mm.
never performed. So these loopholes are there. I mean, if they are able to manage their top four only batting, uh, and somehow luck clicks that their bowling supports well, somehow the mix has never worked. Maybe the master or the magician is
Mm.
not there to
Mm.
weave that magic. Somehow with average players, we've seen other teams like CSK pulling it off. Even Pune Super Giants, when they came for the first time, they somehow managed to put up a decent show. I think they reached top four. There is something that needs to come from the leadership.
Yeah. I think we will just deviate the topic somewhere else. That it's basically put it on Kohli's captaincy rather than on the players.
Yeah.
But uh, definitely, they have not been able to groom people and form a real
Yeah.
good core Indian setup. Uh,
Yes.
even the bowlers, if you look at Navdeep Saini, he's already out of color, and he was part of T20 side. Didn't make it to 11, neither in ODIs and Test. Also, he's losing his spot in Indian 11 already because he has not been very economical.
Right.
Even if you look at Jamieson, it was I'm not sure what kind of a buy it was because even in T20s international, the guy has more than 8 economy. He might have done well in other domestic leagues, and that is why he was such a hot choice. But otherwise, even he doesn't come with a lot of international experience and good experience. His economy rate in T20 international is 9.8, and he has only played 8 matches. So I don't
Yeah.
understand how is their depth bowling really fixed? Will they
Right.
go with Kane Richardson or will they go with Jameson because they can only choose one,
Yeah.
right? And if they go with Jameson with the amount of money they have spent on him, then only option you are left with is Siraj, and then you'll have probably Navdeep if you're playing three fast bowlers, or you will just have two of them and play Chahal and Washington, and then you have Daniel Christian. Again, so these are just five bowlers. You need another all rounder. So maybe they'll probably play Harshal Patel as well. I don't know. In Chennai, maybe yes. Outside, they may go with Saini as well. Saini and Siraj both. So the
Yeah.
mixture is not really there. They still are weak on bowling, and after top four, they would again struggle. That's the whole problem.
Yeah.
And I understand Kohli's strategy. He clearly says that in T20 you have limited number of balls, so your best batsman should play at the top. Okay, fine. I get it, and that's why he wants to open, and he has done that in past also, and he has done well. There is no doubt there. And but after top four, there is nothing. There is no one, right? Who you can really rely on. There is Daniel Christian who can obviously hit the ball long, but not consistent really. So they need some Indian players who can do something like something like a Tewatia or a Riyan Parag who you have in Rajasthan, or someone like Sky or Ishan Kishan who were groomed by Mumbai, and
Right.
even Krunal can finish innings.
Exactly.
So they don't have those kind of players. So their lower middle order as well as bowling is weak. So and that's why I don't see them finishing at the top, right? Top four. I don't think they'll make it yet again. So
Just hold on to that thought, man. So on that point, does it make sense for Sundar to come out at number 4? And that will give you a chance to bring Maxwell at number 5 and strengthen your lower middle order, if you want to say that, and
but
maybe
that
give
is
him a
not how
finisher.
Kohli likes it. Kohli's policy is T20 has very limited number of balls to play. Your best batsman should get maximum number of balls. Now, this is how Mumbai Indians have always played. They would never get Pollard in before 16 overs unless there has been a batting debacle, right?
Right.
They will never get Pollard in before 15 or 16 overs. And they have been criticized for it, but they always do the same thing. This is not how Kohli thinks. Kohli would
Agree.
bat him at 4. Now, something if they do something very different to maybe get more depth, they can probably have Kohli, or I mean Kohli at 3 or Padikkal at 3, and have Washington Sundar open for them and ask him to play freely, which is again not how Kohli thinks. Okay,
No,
so
but
He is
it's
even
not
definitely
happening.
going to
Sundar's,
open. I mean, he has said very clearly that he will open in the IPL.
he will open.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah,
No, Sundar's batting
but
style is not, he comes to the crease and starts bashing. That's not his style, I think. He's success. He's got success in test matches where he's got time to connect, and he's a proper, if I can say, textbook or a classical player to
Yeah.
whatever, because he's opened his innings. He's opened innings for his I think Tamil Nadu or Kerala, but
yes,
but he's a
yes.
very textbook kind of a batsman. So it's not something somebody who can just come up and score runs
No,
quickly.
but which is good for power play, right? If you look at Riddhiman Saha,
Yes,
he has done the
yes,
same thing. Or
right.
even if you
Same.
look at Parthiv Patel
Parthiv has
earlier,
done the same.
right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. So they are
Only
more
thing
of a
is,
stroke play.
And classic bowlers.
but that's
And
where Padukal will come
for
in.
those classic bowlers, this is good.
Padukal, and maybe Azharuddin. If Azharuddin plays the first match and scores well, he might get a second game. So basically, one of either Padikal or Azharuddin will definitely get strike
Yeah.
rotation opportunity with Kohli. Kohli will definitely not leave number one spot for batting. My feeling is Maxwell might be dropped to number 5 or number 6 based on match situation, and
Yeah.
whosoever is the domestic Indian player who's playing at number 5 might be promoted to number 4 or number 3 depending on situation.
Yeah.
But Maxwell is somebody you can play around with. He's a floater. He's not too keen about his batting position per se. I think that is one thing which is more likely
Yeah.
to happen, because in certain long chases you can't have Maxwell
Yeah.
at number 4 and getting him out. Then you have nobody at the depth. So Dan Christian again is not too popular with his bat. So
I think there is something similar that Mumbai Indians do with their lineup. So Krunal and
yeah,
Hardik, they switch positions depending on the
yes,
situation. Yeah.
yes,
Thing
yes,
like that
yes,
has to happen. Yes.
right.
So now
Again, we
with
don't want to comment much on captaincy, but
yeah,
that's how Rohit has always been comfortable. I think
correct.
if I think Hardik even says that I'm not feeling very great about going right now, maybe he'll be happy to send Krunal and
Mm.
maybe a right left option also which he thinks.
Yeah.
But I don't know how Kohli is fixated about the lineup.
Yeah. Yeah. So now with Maxwell definitely featuring in your batting lineup, so you have some additional overs coming in from Maxwell as well. So he has
Yes, yes, yes,
consistently bowled in
yes,
the IPL, if you see. So
right.
does that solve the bowling puzzle
Right.
also for Kohli? Does it give him
I think
more
couple
flexibility?
of overs definitely it will give him a good option, because
Yeah.
if the matches are in Chennai, then definitely it's a good bowling option.
Yes.
Maxwell can definitely bowl well. He's got good control. If you see, he doesn't
Yeah.
and he's a flat. He doesn't give a lot of air to the ball. He's a
Look.
flat bowler, very much like Aksar. So he's decent with that. I mean, he's got good control. So 2-3 overs definitely he can pull off, which will be a good breather for Kohli. But
Yeah.
again, the match changes in the last 3 to 4 overs typically. Extra 10 runs or you save 10 runs. That is where the match is lost. So that is where I think, which Mayank has rightly pointed out, they are missing a death bowler. Siraj definitely is a swing bowler, so definitely he'll bowl either 2 or 3 up front, with the new ball, and then you are left with only 1 over maybe, and that too you can utilize him somewhere in the middle overs. So ultimately, at death, I
Middle.
think it
Yeah.
will be Jamieson. With the current lineup, you have Jamieson only,
Yes.
and maybe Dan Christian if you can toss up some change of pace balls. I mean, those are the things that you can expect from Dan Christian,
Correct.
because he's a medium pacer. So
Yeah.
typically, that is where the match can be lost.
I think for them, best case is if Sundar opens the bowling with Siraj,
Yes.
and get him to bowl in power play, and that's probably the best thing, so that their depth has some pace left, right? And
Yeah.
use Jamieson or maybe Richardson only as a pure death bowler and have 4 overs right at the depth.
Yeah. So I think
I don't know
the
how much time do we have.
basic mantra for Kohli is to score 200 plus
Score.
consistently. Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. And even if
Yeah,
one match he
and how do
falters,
you
no,
do that?
that match
No,
lost. Yeah, it's not a machine, no.
right. Like for 200 plus, you need at least two of their top four to score half centuries, right? At least two of the top four, which will not happen in uh,
worst
50% of the
part,
matches.
worst part is that
Over.
this is the formula they've been playing for last 11 years. Still, there is no learning. That something is not working. If you do the same thing every time, then the result can't change. They
Of
have
course.
always been scoring 200. I mean, having ABD in your side, he can score any amount of runs in any amount of balls, but still they've never been able to lift the cup. So then, what is missing? It's basically the bowling. It's basically the team setup. It's the domestic players which make a difference ultimately.
Mm.
Exactly. Exactly.
So let's maybe the RCB fans are praying that maybe AB is practicing bowling and he will start giving them 4 overs
Yes.
also this time around.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's rest that at that. So Kohli is
Yes.
still the captain and unfortunately the captain of Indian team also.